Okay. Hi, everybody. Tonight we're going to look at the game Yellowstone. I played it already this afternoon once just as a kind of test to see, how it works and how smooth it went. It's relatively simple game, which doesn't necessarily mean to say that I didn't screw up once or twice, but the rules are pretty basic. I really enjoyed it, actually, just to kind of get that out of the way. It's nothing really complex by any stretch, but there was just some interesting things that happened, and I thought it was still kind of fun. I think this is a great one for my kids when they get a little bit older, introducing them to this style of game, and it gives you opportunity to talk about migration of animals and how they follow food sources and things that can happen out in the wild, and maybe introducing them to some of the animals, period. Who knows if they would find it interesting, or just that idea of survival of the fittest. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty fun little game. So we're going to play it, and what you're looking at now is the setup. I'm just playing 2 players for this one. We're going to be playing with the mule deer, which you see here on this side of the board, and then the bighorn sheep over on that side of the board. The game starts off in the spring, so the winter thaw is over, and we're now at spring, and they have to kind of move across the landscape. So the bighorn sheep are going to be moving across to this space here, and the mule deer will be moving across to this space over here. In their path, you'll see a couple of different things. You'll see some coyotes that they start off on the board. They're marked where they go, and then you'll see food sources that are also marked. Now, the food sources have numbers on the bottom of them, and I guess as a player, if you want, when you collect them, you can look at them if you want. There's not much benefit in it because you don't have to expend the food points during the game. It's more calculating who wins at the end of the game based on how much food you've collected. So when you take a kind of scan across the board, you can see, for example, if you're the mule deer here, there's a couple over on this side peeking around there before you can get, or same thing coming around this side. They're nicely dispersed. So if you are playing a 4-player game, bison would start here and elk would start there. It gives enough of a spread to collect as much food as you can. The first time I played, I tried to just really collect. The first time I played, I was playing the bison and the elk, and the bison really went out of their way to collect as much food as possible. What else to tell you about the initial setup? You see some different landscapes, some mountains, which there's a table inside telling you which animals can and cannot move through certain terrain, forests, and lakes. And at the beginning, so each player has kind of 3 phases of their turn. The first phase is rolling on one of these 4 tables. Depending on what season it is, you're going to have different results. So for spring, you're starting on this spring table, obviously. So you roll both the die and see what the event is. After you've decided and worked out the event, you then get movement. You then get to move your herd. Each one has a different allotment of movement points. The dark red ones there are the adult males. The lighter colored ones at the back there are the females. And on top of the females are the babies. So each group starts out with 3 males, 4 females, and 2 babies. And off to the side, there's 3 babies left that at certain events they call it that there's the birth of new babies come into play. So your herd grows. Now let me just double check. I think it was adult males have a movement allowance of 4. Healthy adult males have an allotment of 4. If they're injured, it's 3. The females, when they're traveling on their own, they have an allotment of 3. If they're injured, it's 2. A female with young, and they can have up to 2 young traveling with them, 2 babies traveling with them, if they're healthy, it's 2, and if they're injured, it's 1. When the fall comes, the babies are strong enough to move on their own. They don't need to be attached to a mother. And then their movement allowance is 2. And if they're injured, it's 1. So that's the basics of movement. Now, after you've done that, you roll the dice again, and there's another table that is the predator table. So depending on what your die roll is, you'll get to move one of the predators. Now, if you roll for, say, a bear, which do not start the game on the board, and there's none on the board, then you don't do anything. It's just kind of a pass. If you roll and you happen to get to move a coyote, you only get to move one of them. It's your choice. It's your choice which one. But you don't get to move all of them that are on the board. You just get to choose one of them. And again, each one has a different allotment. Mountain lions can move up to 5. Grizzly bears can move up to 4. Coyotes can move up to 3. And then there's hunters that can only move 1 hex at a time. And again, for the predators, there's certain restrictions depending on what animal it is of where they can move to. There's bonuses through the game. The first animal to enter their end of spring kind of area, there's a bonus of 25. When the rest of your herd enters that area, you get a bonus of 50. When the first animal, no matter who it is, enters their summer hangout, that marks the end of the spring season and you move into summer. Once all of the animals, all the players that are playing move into their summer resorts, that is the end of summer and we start on the fall season. Once fall hits, your herd moves back to its kind of winter hangout on the board. And that ends once all of the animals are in their winter ranges. There's bonuses in there as well too, which we'll go through when we get to that point. I won't go into too much of it right now. We'll make it there. So that's pretty much the setup. Over on the side, I have all the predators standing by to make it onto the board whenever they are called for. Again, I decided just to play a 2-player game just to give you a sense of how the gameplay is. Obviously, if there's 4 playing, it's going to get crowded. Now, you can't, some of the movement restrictions are, you can't pass through a hex that is occupied by another animal. Mountain lions and bears have kind of a zone of control, for lack of a better, well, not lack of a better term, that is what it is. They don't call it that in this game, but they do have a zone of control just against each other though. So if a bear is in this hex, his zone of control is the surrounding hexes and a cougar cannot enter that space. Now, when attacking an animal, the predator has to enter the space of the animal, and there's restrictions on that too, as far as depending on the predator, there's restrictions on if they can kill an animal, and those restrictions change when fall hits as well. The biggest change is that they can no longer attack babies that are on their own because they're considered too strong at that point, that they can actually put up a bit of a fight or escape that sort of thing. Hunters, I don't think have any restrictions as the game goes on. I think the human hunter can hunt and kill no matter what the season is, no matter if the animal is injured or not. And that's actually something to bring up as well. So here's their healthy side, and big white X through it means that they're injured. Injured animals are easy for the predators to take out and kill. And again, on the tables, there are events where you can your animals kind of heal themselves. When you're collecting food, the last thing I'll say about it is when you are collecting food, you don't have to end up in the hex. The other game that I got in this package deal, if you saw the previous video, is outdoor survival. And one of the things with outdoor survival is that you have to end up on the hex where the food and water supplies are in order to collect from. This one you can pass right over it and you'll collect the resources for the end of the game. I think that pretty much covers it. So why don't we just get into it then? So we'll start with the mule deers. We'll start on this side. So as I said, the first thing that happens is an event roll, and I'll take you through a few turns, and well, maybe I'll take you through the spring season, and then I'll come back at the end once I'm done, and I can show you about calculating the points for the end of the game. And if anything unique comes up throughout the game, I'll kind of tune back in. But why don't we just play a couple of rounds, and just to give you a sense of some of the things that can happen. So first thing we do is roll the die, and it's a 4. A 4 on that table is bear awakens from hibernation. Place 1 grizzly on any vacant bear den of your choice. So same thing with the predators. They're all brown, but they have a picture on it, and they have an injured side as well. So since this is the mule deers, I think I will place the bear up in a bear den. And if you can see, it says bear specifically. So there's really, it's really straightforward as far as, it's not a gigantic map. Everything is really spelled out for you. So there you go. So now the bear stays there. And as for the mule deers, if we look on our chart here, I'll try to do this while talking into the mic so you can still hear me there. The mule deers, mountain hexes, it says 1 hex. Lake hexes, it says 1 hex. And forest hexes, it says yes. So what that means is they can move through the mountain, but as soon as they hit a mountain, so if, for example, I wanted to move through the mountain to make my way there, as soon as I touched the mountain hex, I'd have to stop my movement, even if I have more movement points allotted to this particular animal. I can't go any further. So that's the same with the lake hexes. Forest hexes, it just says yes. It's just regular movement. So you just count that as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You just count walking right through it. You don't have to stop in it or anything. So that's what you need to know for that. And that is across the board for all the animals. And again, we'll talk about the bighorns when we get to them. So we'll start out movement with the females that are on their own. They can move 3. My thought was to maybe send the males around this side to collect these food. So maybe we'll start with that actually. And theirs is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Puts him there. And we'll send a female with a young is 1 and 2. Here's another female on her own, so that's a 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll go that way. And another male is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe take a little detour through here to pick up that food. She can pick up that. 1, 2. We'll do that. And she can go 1, 2, 3. I think I might be bold with this guy here and take a bit of a longer route. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you can see we passed through a hex that had some food. So all we do is we just pick it up and we'll keep it on our side of the table here so there's no confusion. And again, if you want, you can look at the number on the back. You don't need to know it as you're playing because everything is a mystery. The numbers go, I think it's 5, 10, 15, 20 is how they work on the back. But seeing as you don't know what else is coming, there's really no point in looking at what you have. You don't need to expend them throughout the game to get any benefits. So there you have it. That's the basic idea there. And then we do another roll to see if we get to move one of the predators. We get a 10. And on a roll of 8 to 10, that's a movement for mountain lion, which there isn't any. So the turn passes to the bighorns, right? The bighorn sheep. I always want to call them rams. The bighorn sheep are next. So first thing, roll for an event, and it's a 5. And that event is Mountain Lion Roams. Place 1 mountain lion on any vacant lion den of your choice. So right off the hop, there's a look at the mountain lion. And again, same thing, a damaged or an injured rather. And we'll throw this mountain lion right over here. And then same thing, we'll just do some movement. So theirs is the bighorn sheep. Mountain hexes, yes, they can move through. Lake hexes, no, they can't even move through them. And then forest hexes is a 1. So they're kind of surrounded by forest on this side. My idea was to jump across and grab those, but that is not going to work for us. So we'll leave it. And what's under there? Just a regular terrain there. But this side, I think we can work. Okay, so adult males. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll collect that food. She's on her own, so 1, 2, 3. They'll head out this way. 1, 2. And he'll head out this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as I said, actually we'll go 3, 4 over to there. The mountain is no problem for them, so he roams right through it. And we'll do a 1, 2, 3 and collect that one. We'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll do a 1, 2 right there. So that takes care of that movement. And again, just spreading them out and trying to collect as much resources as we can, as much food as we can. And then finally the predator movement. So that's an 8. 8 to 10, again, is a mountain lion. So here we can get into this situation right away. So we do have a mountain lion here. The mountain lion can move up to 5 hexes. Mountain hexes, yes, can move right through. Lake hexes has to stop as soon as he hits one. And forest hexes can move right through. And then we also get to look at, I'm going to place this here so we can all have a look here. The predator table here kind of breaks down what animals can be killed by the specific predators. In this case, the mountain lion can kill any injured animal, all young of any injured female, and any unaccompanied young. So that does that. So I think that we don't have anything that fall into those categories. We don't have any injured females. We don't have any young out on their own. But we still can kind of get in his way because, as I said, you can't pass through a hex with another animal. So we can kind of make it a little more difficult to collect food and keep on his way. 1, 2, we'll go there. We'll try that out. Actually, we'll go there. 3. And that's it. And now we move back to the mule deer. So at this point, that's basically what you're looking at. Is just rolls on this event table. And just to kind of give you an idea of what else there is on that event table. There, you can add females to the herd. Place her on any hex adjacent but not inside your winter range. So that's for a situation if you've had a female killed, you still have an opportunity to bring them back through some of the events. Late season storm drops deep snow. Lose 1 young and 1 female of your choice. So killing off some of your herd. The bear awakens, the mountain lion roams. 2 young are born to the herd. Place them with any female having less than 2 already, and a female of your choice. So that's something we'll touch on there briefly. In the first game that I did play, there was, I did roll that once, put the 2 on, rolled it a second time, only put the 1 on. You are limited by the amount of chits that you have. You can never have any more, so you don't get into a situation where, oh, well, I'm still owed 1 from an event that happened, so once 1 dies, you just keep it right back on the board. No. As many chits as you have is what you're limited to. So if 1 dies, if a baby dies, then you don't get to replace it right away if you're owed 1. You don't ever get owed an animal. So there you go. And a couple other ones. I don't want to read all of the events. If you do decide to pick up the game, want to have some of the events be a bit of a surprise. And that's that. So I'll stop here and then I'll come back when we reach the end of the game, or if something extraordinarily exciting happens. But this is kind of the pace of the game. It's by no means a complex, heady game. But like I said, I still really like it. I think it's a pretty fun idea for a game. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay, and we're back with the end of Yellowstone. I wanted to talk to you about the scoring. I didn't really come back throughout the game. There was some events that I came across that I hadn't in my previous game, which allowed for a few different things to happen, which was kind of great. The one thing I did realize about playing this again, I would love to see it, or play it rather, with 4 people. Or even 3 people. And I think the main reason being that because there's that restriction of moving through occupied hexes of other animals, even if they're your own herd, except for obviously the females and the babies, the one that can happen. I think that would really allow somebody to cash in on these bonuses of being the first one with their entire herd inside the summer range, or the first one with their entire herd in the winter range. You'd be able to cash in on those bonuses, I think, a little bit because of that restricted movement. It would also make it a little more difficult to get what you need for points, which you'll see here in a moment as I kind of walk through the points. Yeah, it was good. It was neat to see some of them, some of the new events, and we definitely had a bit of swarming with the predators. They've since been dispersed a little bit more. We did have a death of a adult. We did have a birth of 2 babies and 1 here. So some minor changes. So now we will go through the scoring. we'll start with the bighorn sheep. Oh, and this is the other thing I should show you too. There is bonuses for being the first animal into your range for the summer range. The first animal there, you circle the 25 bonus. Once your entire herd is in the summer range, you circle the 50 point food bonus, just to keep track of that. And then there's present on summer range, present on winter range, which was what I was talking about before. When you have your entire herd in the summer range or the winter range before somebody else does, every time it's your turn again and your opponents still don't have all their herd in whichever range they're supposed to, you get some bonus points. 10 for each turn on the summer and 5 for each turn on the winter. And maybe I've kind of gone a little bit all around here, but I guess as we're going through, I'll talk to you about the score sheet. There's a seasonal list bonus section where I've kept track of this herd. The bighorn sheep herd, for example, lost 5 points. The mule deer gained 10 and lost 5 with 2 different events that happened for the fall. The last thing that I have to do, actually, so both herds have ended up in their winter range, so that is now the official end to fall, and then we move to the winter. And what happens is there's one roll of the dice, and we look at one event that will affect both herds, and that's the end of the game. So there is still a table with 12 options on it, and we'll see what we get here. We get a 6, and 6 says severe winter. Deep snow and many weeks below -20. All herds lose 40 food points. It's the exact same one that I had last time, so we'll still do it, but it would have been great to have a different one. So I will just write that down here, the winter loss, -40, to make sure that we keep track of that. Actually, I'll turn this pad of paper over. All right, so, well, we're on the mule deer side, so I'll try to keep talking into the mic here properly. And let's go through the mule deer. I'm going to move this forward to give us a bit of working room. Those ones go over there. And here's where we just turn over the chits and see what our bonuses are. There's a 20, that's a good thing to see. There's another 10, there's another 5, there's another 5, there's another 5, oh geez. 5s are no good. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and accumulated food chips, 70. There was no bonuses for the summer range. There was no bonuses for the winter range. So is 120, 145, 155, -5 is 150, -40 is 110. So 110 is what we put for the total food points. Now, then we calculate how much of our herd has survived, and this is where it gets a little bit grim. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 120, 145, 155, 150. I'm just recalculating to make sure that I've got the numbers right. And yes, so 110 is it. It gets a little grim here, and I'll show you why. Yes, it's great that we've had a lot of our herd survive. We haven't lost a lot of people, or a lot of animals rather. But at the same token, we still have to feed the herd. And that's going to cause some issues. So this next section allows us to calculate how much food we're going to need for our herd. So we write down how many males, how many females, and how many young that we have. Males, we have 3. Females, we have 4. And young, we have 3, which is basically just bumped our numbers up 1 since the beginning of the game. So the herd has grown just very, very smallly. 75 points total for the males, 30, 60 points for the females, 130 for the young. So that's 7 is 140, 50, 60, 165 points is what we need. And we have 110, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So we need 55 points taken off, basically. So now you kind of go down the list of, this is the die off priority. So your herd, now there's going to be some of the herd that dies, and it tells you which ones you'll kill first, basically, to recoup those points till you can get this number below, or actually, no, it has to be below, not equal to. No, that's incorrect. Equal to or less than 110 is what we're shooting for. The first thing they have you do is they have you look for any injured animals. In our mule deer crew here, we don't have any injured animals, so we don't have to worry about that. Any young, the young have 10 each, and what did I say? We need 55 points. So that is going to kill off all of our babies, which is 3. So that's 30. And then males will do it for us. So one of our males has passed on. So unfortunately, 3 babies have died and 1 adult male. So that's the 25 there, which gives us that 55 points that we need to make it equal. So now we have enough food for the amount of our herd that's left. And that leads us to the final step in our points calculations. So how many males do we have? We have 2 males and we have 4 females and 0 young. So you write that down in the bottom here. Let's find the focus. 2 males at 1 point apiece is 2. 4 females at 5 points apiece is 20. So our total animal points are 22 points. And that's what we have for the mule deer. And then what we do is we just do the same calculations for our other herd, which I'll do here quickly as well. And then we can wrap it up. I'll do that, and then I'll come right back and tell you what the results were. Okay, so our bighorn sheep really had a rough go of it. They only managed to get a handful of 5s and 1 15, which I think makes the remaining, oh yeah, a 15 and a 5 were left. So they were kind of shit out of luck when it came to that. They only had 45 points. Their total food points that they had was 75. They had a fair-sized herd as well. 2 males, 4 females, and 4 young. So their total food that they needed was 150, which left us having to get rid of 75 points. We had 1 injured male, so he died for 25. All 4 of our young died, and we had to kill an additional male. So they're left with a very small herd filled with females, which we'll see how, we see how that's going to happen next season on Yellowstone. So that leaves us with 20 points at the end of the game, which means that with a grand total of 22 points, the mule deers have taken this season's Yellowstone survival mission. So there you have it. That's a look at the game Yellowstone, Avalon Hill, and I think it was 1985 is when this game came out. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say about it. It's a nice, light game. Doesn't take a lot of time to set it up. It sure as heck doesn't take a lot of time to play it. Obviously, the time, 1984. Copyright 1984. Obviously, the amount of play will change a little bit when you include some more players. So if you have 4 people moving across this board to get to their summer ranges and back to their winter ranges, that's when things will mix up a little bit. And you'll probably see a huge amount die off because there's so many animals in such a small range. There's only so much food that they'll be able to collect for the end of the game. So I think we'll see numbers like this 75 and probably even lower. I wouldn't be surprised if you see about 50, which means that a lot of your herd will die off. Yeah, a fun little game. I love the components. I really like the board. I still really like the idea. How much replayability does this have? I don't know. I don't know if it's got a ton of replayability that you can sit and play this 6, 8 times in the span of a few months. I think it's kind of one of those games that you might break out once every few months, maybe. If that, it might lose its luster. I think it's a unique game to have in the collection, though. As I've said before, I think it might have been earlier in this video that I really haven't, myself, in my kind of gaming life, I haven't come across anything like this. I mean, there's a lot of fantasy and sci-fi type games where you're playing different creatures and things, but I don't think I've come across something where you're playing a herd of animals just migrating for the season and collecting food. It's a unique thing, and I don't think I showed in the kind of unboxing or look inside the box. It does come with this Yellowstone, the park behind the game, which gives you kind of a history of the park and what to expect if you visit, and some photos and things. So I think it's a nice kind of souvenir if you did visit Yellowstone, and I'm sure it was for sale in the office at the campgrounds when you went to Yellowstone in 1984, 1985. So thanks very much for watching. A bit of a longer video, but I think I'm still going to string it into just one. I don't see the need really to break it up into 2 videos. So thanks very much, and I hope you enjoyed this little look at Yellowstone. The other game that I did get was Outdoor Survival. I had said before I'd probably do a gameplay for my channel on YouTube, Astral Hex Encounter, but I don't think I'll be contributing it to the BGG website like I'm going to for this one. Callendale and Hello Gregor's videos are just so spot on for that game. Anything else I think will take away from the brilliance that are those series of videos there, and that kind of speaks volumes for that game in itself. But once I've kind of read through the rules and played it once or twice by myself, I will be sure to do a gameplay video for Outdoor Survival to give you a little look-see at that. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you.